Jason from Basecamp, formerly 37 Signals, he's definitely one of the leaders in the space. They invented Basecamp, which is essentially a combination of the current project management system. They also invented Hey.com, which is an alternative to Gmail, and some other solutions along the go. I was pretty inspired by their books early in the day, Rework, but their books have been an inspiration for me as well. The other aspect of theirs is back in the day, and I believe that's still the case unless that's changed. But Jason's team, they had a cap of about, let's say, 50 people, and they were never hiring about that threshold. They say, that's the product. We believe it's optimal. We want to work with a small but nimble team of people. We don't want to work with 5 people so that everyone can take a break and they can enjoy vacations and stuff. But we don't want to become a corporation with 500 people just so that we don't really know each other's names. So Jason and DHH, they had pretty creative ideas in how to build a workspace. And I've actually borrowed a lot of their ideas while creating DevriX, working on 3 to 4 smaller companies, all capped to about 50 people, where it's easy to handle that. You have more or less flat hierarchy. It's easier to manage, less bloat, less overhead, and all that stuff. What Jason mentioned in the previous article in terms of pricing is indeed we have moved from an on-premise environment where everything was hosted on our end, or we used downloadable software such as Windows licenses and Office and all that stuff, to a completely SaaS usage-based environment, which has been a hit about 12 or 13 years ago. I still remember that back in the day, when SaaS kind of became a thing and more systems started to move to SaaS subscription model, I was completely convinced that there's no way that music streaming and video streaming are ever going to move to the cloud. So again, 15 years ago, I believed that Spotify and Netflix are not going to exist. Now, most of the younger audience, they cannot even imagine that we had things like Walkman and CD players and MP3 players and iPods and stuff, because it felt unfathomable that someone is actually going to go and look for music pieces and download them track by track, and they're not going to have all the cloud environment at their disposal. But at the same time, if you actually go to the mountain or show for a couple of days, you realize that you don't have internet coverage and you kind of don't have battery and stuff. And all these things which replace all batteries are the only way to listen to music. And again, most kids don't really have music right now. Software as a service may be a default for many of us. The fact right now is that in order to find the golden balance, we have to go from one extreme to the other extreme. And software as a service has been one of these cases. Right now, we have the same thing with AI. From no AI whatsoever to every single software on the planet is plugging AI somewhere just so that they can say that it's AI. We had no remote work beside a dozen companies that are offering remote, then moving to 100% remote. And now we are looking for that golden balance of hybrid, or some companies realizing that they need to be on site and so forth. So the thing with SaaS is we randomly at some point in time, we decided that everything could be SaaS. And we spent several years moving to a rented environment entirely. But I definitely believe that we're going to see some withdrawal or some pullback. If not for on-premise and hosting and owning internally, then at least some way to own our data and be able to download that data and have kind of a local environment, or set up a in-house cloud server with backups or something else where we can trust that everything is there. And even though that seemed unrealistic up until a year or two ago, we actually see some data outages and some data failover issues, even at companies at Google, that wiped out millions of accounts, some for Gmail, some for Google Photos, and people actually lost their data, even though they believe they have 100% access to that. So rethinking that model is definitely something that makes a lot of sense. In the same fashion as service businesses charging retainers and subscription-based pricing models are now, many of them are moving again to one-off offers that have some support or maintenance plans attached to them afterwards.